Well, I don't think that we should be seeing Piers' comments on Meghan as the sole reason for his departure from Good Morning Britain, because it strikes me that it was probably more of a cause or a case of the straw that broke the camel's back. And let me just explain why I think that. So Piers has very much set himself up as a pantomime villain. But the thing about a pantomime is that there are clear parameters. The audience is very aware of the moral structure, what's right and wrong, what's good and bad. But Piers has risen to prominence during a time when we've seen the rise of the alt-right in Europe, across the pond. So rather than playing devil's advocate, what he's actually been doing is legitimizing in mainstream media some very dangerous attitudes towards women, people of colour, people with mental health issues, and trans people, to name but a few, who are already marginalised. So from my perspective as a mental health campaigner, we have to remember Piers has got form on ridiculing and minimising people's experience of mental illness. Off the top of my head, as well as Meghan, he's done it to Lady Gaga, Will Young and Denise Welch. And that's happening within the context of huge amounts of stigma and prejudice within society on the topic of mental illness. So it's important to bear in mind, and Rachel Venables of LBC said this magnificently on Twitter a few days ago, that Meghan won't necessarily see any of this furore, but people who are currently experiencing suicidal feelings or suicidal ideation, members of the public, will. So you have to think about the message that they're getting and what they then take as the likely response they're going to get if they reach out for help.
So just coming back, so you're not allowed, and I say it again, the way he did it was clumsy and wrong, but you're not allowed to, what Meghan says is right. Much as what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. Whatever she says, you're not allowed to challenge.
It's about how you challenge. So as an aside, I would say to you, I've had to stop over the past couple of years saying yes to invitations from Good Morning Britain, because every time I agreed to go on to debate Piers, he wouldn't let me speak. He would completely mischaracterise my nuanced point of view, and I would end up getting death and rape threats from his fans. That's not healthy discourse. There is, of course, room for diversity of views within media, but you have to do it respectfully.
Natasha, where was the... Again, he didn't do it in the correct fashion, but why is he not allowed to challenge what he believes to be the veracity of her claims? Or is it that he's not allowed the free speech? You have put a very cogent criticism of Piers and his style, and that's what free speech is all about. Why isn't he allowed to have, he didn't argue it correctly, but to have criticism of what he heard from the Duchess? Why can't it go both ways?
He could, but he, as you've seen from his presenting style, he very often doesn't let other people speak. His opinion is the only opinion. And in the case of Meghan Markle, you have to, it's the golden rule of mental health within the mental health world. You have to take any kind of talk of suicide, people saying they were suicidal, seriously. Now, he can cast doubt on what the Duchess has said, but he also has to make it clear that for most people, if they are suicidal, he'll take them seriously.
But Natasha, he did cast, with respect, he did cast doubt, and you're saying that you can't cast doubt, no?
He didn't respond to it in the correct way, and even you have admitted that. But let me be clear as well. I'm not one of these people who is celebrating this as a win. Piers flouncing off in the ambiguous way that he has doesn't feel like a win to me at all, because of now, of course, he's going to present himself as a martyr. He is going to present this as a freedom of speech issue. He's already done an interview with a newspaper in which he's compared himself to Winston Churchill and confirmed that he's learned absolutely nothing at all and he's not sorry. That's not a win. Piers needs to understand why his comments were wrong, and I don't think he does.
In her characteristic forthright manner, Natasha Devon powerfully critiqued Piers Morgan's callous dismissal of Meghan Markle's disclosed suicidal thoughts, highlighting the profound and potentially catastrophic societal implications of such public ridicule. By publicly invalidating an individual's mental health experience, Morgan not only undermines the vulnerable individual's credibility, but also creates a chilling effect that could discourage countless others from seeking critical support during their most desperate moments. Devon, a respected mental health activist, emphasized that when high-profile media personalities casually dismiss serious mental health declarations, they risk perpetuating a dangerous culture of stigma and silence, which can tragically prevent individuals from accessing the life-saving interventions and compassion they urgently require. Mental Health Advocacy, The Journey of Natasha Devon. Natasha Devon has emerged as a formidable voice in the mental health landscape, transforming her personal experiences and passionate advocacy into a powerful platform for change. As a prominent LBC presenter and respected mental health activist, she has consistently challenged societal misconceptions and stigmas surrounding psychological well-being. Her professional journey is characterized by an unwavering commitment to amplifying conversations about mental health, leveraging her media presence and personal insights to create meaningful dialogue and raise awareness about the complex emotional challenges individuals face in contemporary society. The dangerous dismissal of mental health struggles, Piers Morgan's critique of Meghan Markle. In a shocking display of callous disregard, Piers Morgan continued his relentless public assault on Meghan Markle's credibility by brazenly questioning the authenticity of her disclosed suicidal thoughts during her explosive Oprah interview. His dismissive stance not only undermines the deeply personal and vulnerable revelation of mental health struggles, but also perpetuates a dangerous narrative that trivializes the complex and often invisible nature of psychological suffering. By publicly challenging Meghan's account of her mental distress, Morgan demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of how depression and suicidal ideation manifest, potentially discouraging countless individuals from seeking the critical support and understanding they desperately need in their most vulnerable moments. The mental health crisis, when public figures trivialize suffering. When high-profile personalities like Piers Morgan publicly dismiss or mock mental health experiences, they contribute to a deeply harmful narrative that can discourage individuals from seeking crucial support. By ridiculing Meghan Markle's disclosure of suicidal thoughts, Morgan not only invalidates her personal struggle, but potentially creates a chilling effect for countless others wrestling with similar mental health challenges. Such public dismissal reinforces dangerous stigmas, suggesting that vulnerability is a weakness and that expressing mental health difficulties is something to be ashamed of or minimized. This approach can be catastrophic, particularly for those already hesitant to acknowledge their inner turmoil, potentially preventing them from reaching out to mental health professionals or loved ones during their most vulnerable moments, a silence that could tragically escalate to more severe consequences. Mental health, vulnerability, and the power of listening. The significance of Meghan's courageous admission about her mental health struggles cannot be understated, representing a pivotal moment in public discourse about psychological well-being. By sharing her experience with suicidal thoughts, she has demonstrated extraordinary vulnerability that transcends individual narrative and speaks to a broader societal need for genuine empathy and understanding. When high-profile individuals like Meghan speak openly about mental health challenges, they create critical spaces for dialogue that can potentially save lives, challenging deeply entrenched stigmas and encouraging others who might be silently suffering to seek help. Her bravery in articulating such profound emotional pain serves as a powerful reminder that mental health struggles do not discriminate, and that even those who appear outwardly successful and privileged can experience intense psychological distress. Mental health stigma, the dangerous consequences of dismissive rhetoric. In a stark confrontation of media irresponsibility, Natasha Devon forcefully challenges Piers Morgan's deeply problematic response to Meghan Markle's revelation of suicidal thoughts, highlighting the profound societal damage caused by such dismissive and stigmatizing commentary. Morgan's public ridicule not only undermines the lived experience of individuals struggling with mental health challenges, but also perpetuates a dangerous narrative that invalidates genuine psychological suffering. By publicly mocking and questioning the authenticity of Meghan's mental health struggles, Morgan reinforces harmful stereotypes that discourage people, particularly those in high-profile positions, from seeking critical support and speaking openly about their mental health vulnerabilities. Devon's passionate advocacy underscores the urgent need to dismantle these destructive attitudes, emphasizing that mental health is a serious and legitimate concern that requires compassion, understanding, and supportive dialogue rather than cynical dismissal or public shaming. The silencing of mental health struggles in marginalized communities. The dismissal of mental health challenges experienced by marginalized groups represents a deeply troubling pattern of systemic erasure that compounds existing psychological vulnerabilities. For individuals already navigating complex intersectional identities, the immediate invalidation of their emotional experiences by mainstream narratives creates a doubly traumatizing environment where seeking help becomes an act of profound courage. When public figures like Piers Morgan brazenly ridicule or minimize deeply personal accounts of mental distress, particularly from women of color like Meghan Markle, they don't simply express personal opinion but actively perpetuate a harmful cultural narrative that further marginalizes already vulnerable populations. Such dismissive attitudes not only discourage individuals from sharing their authentic experiences, but also reinforce toxic social structures that systematically undermine the legitimate mental health challenges faced by those who have historically been denied compassionate understanding and comprehensive psychological support. The weight of words, public figures, and mental health discourse. In an era where media personalities wield unprecedented influence, the responsibility of high-profile individuals to approach sensitive topics with empathy and understanding cannot be overstated. Public figures like Piers Morgan, with their expansive platforms and substantial audience reach, bear a significant moral obligation to foster constructive dialogue around mental health, rather than perpetuate harmful stereotypes or dismissive narratives. When public personalities trivialize or challenge deeply personal experiences of psychological distress, such as suicidal thoughts, they risk creating a chilling effect that may discourage individuals from seeking critical support and speaking openly about their mental health challenges. The potential societal damage of such casual dismissiveness extends far beyond a single comment, potentially undermining years of progress in destigmatizing mental health struggles and creating an environment where vulnerability is met with compassion rather than skepticism or ridicule. Breaking the silence, mental health awareness in the public sphere. In our society's ongoing journey toward understanding and supporting mental health, creating spaces for open, compassionate dialogue is not just important, it's critical. By encouraging individuals to share their experiences without fear of judgment or dismissal, we create a supportive environment that validates the complex emotional challenges many people face. Raising awareness means more than simply acknowledging mental health struggles. It requires actively listening, providing empathetic responses, and ensuring accessible resources are available to those in need. When public figures or media personalities trivialize or challenge personal narratives of psychological pain, as seen in recent high-profile discussions, it can potentially discourage countless individuals from seeking the help they desperately require. Our collective responsibility is to foster a culture of understanding where mental health is treated with the same seriousness and respect as physical health, and where every person feels safe and supported in speaking their truth. The dangerous dismissal mental health stigma in the media. In her resolute critique, Natasha Devon unequivocally condemned Piers Morgan's inflammatory response to Meghan Markle's revelation of suicidal thoughts, highlighting the profound potential for such dismissive rhetoric to perpetuate harmful societal attitudes towards mental health. By casually undermining an individual's deeply personal struggle with mental wellness, Morgan exemplifies the kind of toxic commentary that continues to stigmatize and marginalize those battling psychological distress. Devon's passionate advocacy underscores the critical need for empathy, understanding, and supportive discourse around mental health, emphasizing that public figures have a significant responsibility to foster compassion rather than ridicule when individuals courageously share their vulnerabilities.